Lauren's laughter sliced through the reunion hall, sharp enough to make conversations die mid-sentence. Daniel felt the shift immediately. Heads turning, eyes settling on him as his ex-wife lifted her glass. "He was never much of a partner," she said sweetly. "And definitely not much of a father." A ripple of quiet snickers followed. Daniel's chest tightened. "Lauren, you don't have to do this," he murmured, voice low, steady, but fraying at the edges. She shrugged, lips curling. Still dodging responsibility. Some things never change. What hurt wasn't her cruelty. It was how easily the room accepted her version of him. Years of late nights, early mornings, and raising his daughter alone evaporated under a few careless words. For a moment, Daniel felt himself shrinking, fighting the urge to disappear. Then a hand slipped around his arm. A calm, controlled voice, one he knew better than his own, broke the silence. "Honey, are you all right?" Daniel turned. His billionaire boss was standing beside him. And the room suddenly forgot how to breathe. What happens next will upend everything. If this pulled you in, hit like and subscribe to Canada's Heartfelt Tales for more powerful stories. The room didn't move at first. Just froze. Music hung mid-air. Conversations cut off halfway through a sentence. And every pair of eyes locked onto the woman now standing at Daniel's side. Vivian Cole didn't posture, didn't lift her chin, didn't need to. Her presence alone sent a shift through the room, like someone had quietly rewritten the hierarchy without warning. Lauren blinked once, twice, trying to process the sight in front of her. "I didn't realize you two were together," she finally managed. Vivian didn't look at her. She kept her gaze anchored on Daniel, her voice low enough for only their circle to hear. "I saw your face from across the room. You don't owe anyone an explanation." Daniel swallowed. Beneath the fear and humiliation still pulsing in him, something else stirred, a faint sense of being seen after years of blending into the background. But Lauren wasn't done. She tilted her head with the same gentle venom she'd used all night. "Interesting timing," she said, her smile tightening. "Considering what we were discussing." Vivian turned then, slowly, her expression unreadable. "And what exactly was that?" "You know," Lauren said, stepping forward. "Old habits. Responsibility. Choices." She let the words drip with implication. "Some people never grow up." A few nearby guests shifted awkwardly. One man cleared his throat and took a step back. Vivian's response was calm, almost gentle. "Responsibility," she repeated, tasting the word like she was testing its weight. "That's a big topic, Lauren. Especially for someone who walked away from a 9-month-old daughter because the commute was too stressful." The wine glass slipped in Lauren's hand. A few drops splashed onto the carpet. Daniel's heart thudded. He'd never told Vivian that. Not in detail. But the entire room heard it, and suddenly Lauren wasn't the hunter anymore. She was cornered prey. Where did you hear that?" Lauren stammered. "I didn't," Vivian said simply. "Daniel has professionalism. He doesn't weaponize the past. But paperwork tells its own story. Custody agreements, financial records, career timelines." She took a breath, still steady. "I don't judge choices. I judge patterns." The circle around them widened, guests pretending they weren't listening while very obviously listening. Lauren's lips parted, but no sound came out. Daniel felt a strange mixture of relief and panic. He didn't want revenge, not like this. But he also felt something loosening inside him. Years of silence, years of taking blame because it was easier than fighting. Vivian continued, her voice still level. "Daniel shows up. Every day. Without fanfare. Without complaint. That's responsibility." Lauren's throat worked. "You don't know our marriage." "No," Vivian agreed. "But I know character. And I know when someone's rewriting history for applause." A soft murmur rippled through the room. For the first time all evening, Lauren stepped back. Jessica, Claire, and Amy exchanged looks, The kind that said they'd been waiting a long time for anyone, to challenge Lauren's narrative. Jessica even mouthed something that looked suspiciously like, "Finally." But the wave wasn't done rising. From across the ballroom, a familiar voice broke through. "Lauren!" Everyone turned. A tall man in a fitted suit was striding toward them. Sharp jawline, polished shoes, the look of someone used to getting exactly what he wanted. Daniel recognized him vaguely from social media posts Lauren had once shared with smug pride. Her fiancé. Or rather ex-fiancé, judging from the ring she wasn't wearing. "What are you doing?" he demanded, eyes flicking between her and the crowd. "People from my firm are here. I told you, no drama tonight." Lauren stiffened. "I wasn't causing drama. I was just humiliating your ex-husband," he cut in front of half the Boston business district. His voice grew sharper. "Again." A gasp flickered through the room. He turned to Daniel. "She's been obsessed for months. Talking about you constantly. Checking your social media. Asking why you got custody. It's been exhausting." He rubbed his forehead. "I should have listened to my mother. She warned me." The emotional wave crashed. Lauren's face drained of color. "Marcus, please." "No," he said flatly. "Not anymore. You made your past his problem. Now you've made your past my problem. We're done." The room fell silent again, but this silence felt different. Heavier, charged with justice. Lauren reached out as if to grab his sleeve, but he stepped away. "You need help, Lauren. Real help. Stop dragging other people through your storms." He walked out without looking back. Daniel exhaled, the tension in his chest unraveling molecule by molecule. For a moment nobody moved. Then Lauren turned to Daniel, voice trembling with rage and humiliation. "You think you've won? You think this changes anything?" "No," Daniel said quietly. "I'm not trying to win. I just wanted to get through one evening without fighting history." Something raw flickered in her eyes, the first honest emotion she'd shown all night. But it vanished quickly, replaced by the familiar mask. She lifted her chin. "I'm not finished." Vivian stepped forward. "Yes," she said softly. "You are." She signaled to the event coordinator hovering near the doorway. A slim man with a clipboard approached immediately. "Is there a problem, Ms. Cole?" Vivian nodded toward Lauren. "This guest has been causing disturbances and harassing attendees. I'd like her escorted out." Gasps erupted. The coordinator hesitated only a moment. "Of course. Ma'am, this way." Lauren's voice cracked. "You can't do that." But she didn't resist. Couldn't. The weight of 100 watching eyes pinned her in place. She allowed herself to be guided toward the exit, shoulders tight, footsteps uneven. For the first time all night, Daniel felt his lungs fill fully. Vivian waited until Lauren was gone before turning back to him. "You okay?" He nodded. "I think so." "You don't have to thank me," she said. "I wasn't going to," Daniel replied, surprising even himself. Then he added, "But I appreciate it." A faint smile touched her lips. "Good." The crowd began to disperse, whispers fading into the background, tension dissolving into the soft hum of music again. But something had shifted. Every person who glanced Daniel's way did so with a mixture of respect and reevaluation. Jessica approached hesitantly. "Daniel, I'm really sorry for staying quiet earlier. We should have stopped her." "You don't owe me anything," he said. "No," she insisted. "But we owe ourselves better friends than the kind who use people as props." Claire nodded beside her, sheepish. "She's been intense for years. None of us had the guts to call her out." "And we should have," Amy added. "Watching her tear into you like that. It wasn't just wrong. It was cruel." Daniel looked between them. Their regret felt sincere. Messy, human, flawed, but real. "It's done now," he said. "Let's move on." Vivian gave him a look, one he couldn't quite interpret but felt somewhere deep. The coordinator returned, whispering something to Vivian. Her expression sharpened slightly, then softened into something nearly amused. She turned to Daniel. "You might want to hear this." He frowned. "What is it?" "Lauren didn't check out of the hotel," the coordinator said. "She caused a scene in the lobby, shouting at her ex-fiancé, the staff, anyone nearby. Security had to intervene." Daniel blinked. "Is she okay?" "Okay," the coordinator echoed. "Sir," she threw a vase at a bellman. Vivian exhaled slowly. "She'll be banned from the property. Permanently." Daniel didn't celebrate, but he didn't feel guilty either. Some consequences weren't punishments, they were overdue boundaries. Vivian touched his elbow lightly. "Daniel, you don't need to carry what she says anymore. People like her thrive on rewriting stories. But they can't rewrite yours unless you let them." He nodded again, slower this time, letting the words settle. Across the ballroom, several guests looked his way, not with pity but something else. Recognition, respect, curiosity. For the first time in years, Daniel felt the ground steady beneath him. But the night wasn't over. And the final price Lauren would pay had only just begun. When the ballroom finally settled, Daniel stepped outside for a moment of air. The night felt different, crisper somehow, as if the city itself had shifted a little in his favor. He leaned against the railing, watching traffic glide past, thinking about everything that had happened. For years he'd carried the weight of old stories, letting them shape how small he allowed himself to stand. But tonight showed him something quietly powerful. The truth doesn't vanish just because someone talks louder. He heard footsteps. Vivian joined him, her expression softer than he'd ever seen. "You handled yourself well," she said. "I didn't do much," he replied. "You stayed steady," she answered. "Most people can't." Daniel let the words settle. They didn't feel like praise. They felt like confirmation of something he'd forgotten he had. Tomorrow would return to routines, to lunches packed for Emma, to work schedules and grocery lists. But he'd carry something new now, a steadiness that wasn't built from silence but from choosing whose voice mattered. As he looked back through the glass doors, the empty ballroom lights reflected in a way that reminded him of starting points rather than endings. Small, bright paths waiting to be followed. If this story spoke to you, don't forget to like, share, and help Canada's Heartfelt Tales grow by subscribing to the channel.